everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted a more true, life-fulfilling success in your life, then do we have the Guidebook to Authentic Success show for you. Today I'll be talking with Carl Massy, coach, author, co-owner of the 5-star yoga center in Bali called The Practice, and the author of a brilliant book on success that'll truly get to the heart of the matter, the Guidebook to Authentic Success Beyond the Measure of Money. And that's just what I want to talk with him about today, about true, authentic success, what it means to you, and how to achieve it. That, plus we'll talk about long car rides and SeaWorld, car crashes and donuts, Boyle and Britain's Got Talent, Einstein and the Dalai Lama, bomb defense and health coaching, and what in the world somersaults, bars, and impressing girls has to do, gotcha, with anything. So welcome to the show, Carl. Are you ready to shine?
Absolutely, buddy. Absolutely.
Woohoo! We are going to have to talk about somersaults, bars, and impressing girls. But before we do that, let's dive into your earliest years. What were those like, and where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in Australia. Father was a school teacher, so we moved around a lot. One story I tell in a sort of defining moment for me and sort of shaped a lot of my early years was very close to my father. And then my younger sister came along, and I didn't know how to deal with him showing more attention to my sister. So I had a lot of jealousy towards my sister. And that sort of caused a lot of anger when I was younger. So, I sort of wouldn't know how to express this anger. And it caused me through my teens to be trying to prove myself that I was better than my sister. So that led into late teens, early 20s of me trying to prove myself to women around me. It was bizarre, and it wasn't until I did the work and understanding why I do what I do that I realized, this root cause of me being a bit of a, I don't want to get beeped on here for saying the wrong word. But
No, I could beep. It's okay. You go for it.
Being an absolute idiot, and it was like realizing, there was a root cause to that. So it was an interesting observation for me later in life.
It's interesting because you, like me, at least in our earlier days, was a pinball, or what I'm going to call a squirrel on crack, maybe down in your land, a kangaroo on crack.
Absolutely.
And the interesting thing is you talk about later in the book wanting to please your dad more than anything. And his value system didn't, I don't believe, appreciate a kangaroo on crack.
No, he's very controlling, very linear, behave, don't make mistakes, that sort of thing.
Did that influence you in going into the Australian Defence Force Academy?
Yeah, I think so. I think the story I tell to people is like, I went from a very hierarchical family environment where dad was up the top and I was one of the minions, following in behind. And I just went to a bigger, structured organization. Like, it was something I got comfortable doing, being led by someone else and just following along. So I joined the army because of that, not because it was something that I strongly desired to do. So it's interesting unpacking it as you sort of move through your life, for sure.
Yeah, and it helps repeat that familiar structure and that familiar sense of wanting to please. Although, and you did amazingly well, but the ironic thing about it is, it's almost in a sense the exact diametric opposite to your nature.
Yeah, absolutely. And I sort of saw that when I was looking at moving away from the Defence Force. I'd been there for 14 years, and I moved into security consulting for Olympic Games around the world, bomb management expert, and it was all about building fear up. So I'd be with these clients, I would be showing pictures of terrorist bombings and, freaking them out. So then they're like, oh, and then coming in and offering a solution. And that's so against my nature. I'm all about taking the fear away from people, not stoking that fire so they decide to take a contract with us. It just went against my soul. So, makes me cringe.
Well, okay, so if we unpack that further, typically all, but I don't want people to feel bad about it. So I'm going to say almost all of our health challenges have a spiritual cause or something being out of alignment or out of mesh. And as you're busy trying to freak people out, I think your health or your body is trying to freak you out to realize how
Bingo.
much this isn't in alignment.
Bingo. And I had the wake up call. I was in Athens working on the 2004 Olympic Games there. And early 2004, I fell in a screaming heap with pneumonia. That wiped me out. Then I was having these pains in my chest, and it felt like I had cracked ribs. And when I saw a specialist, it was like pleurisy, so an infection of the lining. And that for me was my body's just taking me out, to get me off the grid, to wake me up, to say, this isn't where you need to be. You need to get out of this show. So I'm grateful for it. It was frigging painful along the way. I also got the opportunity to meet an incredible Greek doctor who had lots of letters after his name. And he sat down and he talked about lifestyle. He said, look, I could give you some painkillers for, this pleurisy, but if you can just manage the pain, you don't actually need to take these tablets. So for me, that was one of the defining moments, listening to a highly professional, health professional who was advocating a different course, lifestyle choice.
Since today we're talking about success, and lifestyle choice has everything to do with what is, and we're going to unpack the word authentic success. How did you make that decision? You were a major, so you worked your way up. You worked your beep off to get there. Stepping away at that level. I mean, first off, other people have to think you're insane. How did you do that? What did it feel like? And was it a massive leap of faith?
A very interesting question, because I sort of think we go into roles because of, past encouragement by maybe our parents. We move in and I get very good at doing this thing, but I'm very good at it. That's not really resonating for me.
Yeah.
And I actually got out, for us in Australia, it was the night before September 11.
Oh my God.
So sort of making the transition from the military, and it happened around that time of September 11. So it felt like the right transition point. Now, I have to be honest here and, get vulnerable and say, even though I left the army, I stepped into security consulting, which is very similar sort of work to what I was doing.
Safe.
So when I was in the military, safe, I was bomb management expert. I've stepped into doing the security consulting thing. And, as I went through that, I realized as I got longer in it, I was never challenged in it. I knew I could go to a meeting, I could answer any question that I was asked. So I had this, high profile job, probably top 30 in the world expert at what I did because it was pretty niche, like ticking all these boxes, living around the world, thinking it was pretty flash. But a part of me is like going, you got to get out of this thing. Like you made a little jump into a different profession, but not too different from what you were doing. So have the courage, because I sort of, had the opportunity to see Anthony Robbins. 1999 was his punch in the face for me, and I needed a big guy to punch me in the face.
Yeah, he's good at that.
Woke me up. Yeah. So I'm like, I got to change this thing. And it took me a while to have the courage to truly change, yet it's something that I became very good at, but it wasn't aligned with me. And the biggest transition for me was getting into coaching.
How did you do? Bomb defense to health coach is such a transition. And I have people, I coach people, I have group coaching and all this other live stuff. And almost the number one question is, how do I determine my exact path? There is no exact path, is there? And I'm very curious as how you meandered and found your way from bombs to coaching.
Yeah. Well, if I transition back, when I sort of finished high school, I had a choice: join the army or do human movements. I was interested in becoming a physiotherapist.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, the decision I made was, I'm going to join the army because it's easiest. Like some people might think, how can you think it's easy joining the army rather than going to university? But, it was a structure I was comfortable with being a part of because I'd conditioned myself to follow that bouncing ball. So I followed that. So I reckon I've gone full circle. and I've come back around to what I love most, and that's helping people, become the fullest expression of themselves. And that journey, through the army taught me about strategy, taught me about figuring stuff out, taught me about getting really curious, taught me about making better decisions, being, more conscious in the moment, being more strategic. And all of that, helped me become a better coach. So as much as, I've taken this meandering path off the path of 20 years, the hand that writes everything, it just was clear that I needed to go through this process to land where I needed to be.
Did it teach you? You had such amazing internal structure, but you were at a high level or external structure. Were you able to bring that external structure with you when now you're responsible to you?
Yeah. Look, one of the things I had a challenge with was in the military and in the security consulting, I'd always be trying to find where the problems are, where the faults are. So I got hyper fixated on what was wrong in the system so we could micro adjust it. If you do that to yourself too much, and you spend too much time ruminating on, where the faults are, where the problems are, you create this deep sense of worry. So for me, the last number of years has been trying to work out what are the best things I can take and that become a transition and a useful resource or tool to integrate into this new way of being. So I've been cherry picking it over the years.
Beautiful. So let's go from there. Let's talk about specifically about your book. And I want to talk about success. Before I put the word authentic in it, did you feel, particularly 1999 to 2004, this time of Tony punched you in the face, but you haven't taken that leap yet? Did you feel like a success?
No, and that's, when I say that I got sick with pneumonia and pleurisy, that was me looking at myself in the mirror. And a lot of times there too, I was like, unhealthy relationship with alcohol because you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're not happy with what you're saying. So you're distracting yourself, you're numbing yourself, you're doing whatever. And it wasn't until I got really honest with myself that I'm like, this doesn't feel successful. I don't feel it in my bones. I might look all right, might sound all right, but this isn't me and this isn't what I'm capable of.
Thank you. That actually drives us to the question, what's the importance? Because before this, Jessica's going, another book on success. Everybody talks about success. What does it even mean? And I said, but wait, Carl's is different. He has authentic in front of success. And that actually means something. I'm not making fun of it. It does.
Yeah. It changed the entire conversation. I'm interested, the first book I wrote was happiness, the second book on health, third book on success. I'm interested in diving deep on these subjects. So I looked at my life and I said, I would like to be more successful in life. What does that mean? How do I do it? Yeah. And so I started off success. And then I'm like, if I put this word authentic out the front of it, it became a holistic conversation. It completely changed the course of it. And it made me get so much out of that experience and why I so much want to share, this idea of looking at this success pie in a round sort of holistic way.
Beautiful.
Rather than being hyper-fixated.
So let's talk about a little bit of the pie. And none of the pie is a ginormous, there's a good English word, ginormous bank account. Although it's okay. You talk about, I'm human, I could use that money. It'd do lots of good things.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, and if not, you don't have to have these memorized. It's about 8 of these things, the authentic success pillars.
I got them printed off here because I figured you may ask me that question.
And I never put my guest on the spot. I always want to make it easy for you.
Fantastic. But, and I say before I say this, these are my sort of 8 things, and these aren't chiseled in stone. They're not the only thing ever, but they're a pretty good snapshot, and they're going to give people a good sense of where to focus their attention. So the first one, daily joy. Second one, high quality relationships. Third one, feeling connected. Fourth one, feeling like you're evolving and growing. Fifth one, meaningful life goals. 6, we get into the financial flow. 7th, being aligned with your authentic self. And then optimum health and vitality, the icing on the cake.
Beautiful. Let's blow out a few of these, just a few of these. So you have
Yep.
growing and evolving, taking us back to Tony Robbins. I think he's the one who was saying, if you're not growing, you're dying, you're dead.
Yeah. He talked about his 6 basic human needs, and in order to feel fulfilled, we need to feel as though we're growing. And I've certainly seen it in myself, and I've seen it in others, where people might be stagnant, and I don't know what it is. I don't know why I'm feeling this feeling I'm feeling. So, working with them to get to this point of what do you need to do in order to feel this sense that you're moving forward in life. And again, that analogy, if we're not growing, we're dying. I love that analogy. So I find if people aren't doing something to make themselves grow, they are at some point going to experience something they can't quite explain. I don't know why I'm feeling this way.
Yeah. And it's the beginning signs of use it or lose it. We're here to be expansive, to expand, if we want to really go big picture, consciousness. So we're not
Yeah.
expanding on the couch. We're not, like you said, I had a bomb defense job. Nobody usually puts together bombs and cushy, but I'm going to do that. I
Yeah,
had a
absolutely.
cushy
Go for it.
job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wasn't growing, so part of me didn't feel fulfilled. And I love the word evolution at the moment. And when I sort of work with clients, I challenge them to that be the goal. I say I only want to work with people who are really about evolving, who really want to evolve into being a great human being, evolve into being a person that, serves others in a great way, a person who's evolving so they're making the world a better place, this planet, they're respecting it. That's it. It fires me up, and it's using some Joe Dispenza terms. It's this elevated emotional state. That's where we want to be. That's growth.
I love it. And we're going to dive in later to the term passion, because that's what you're talking about, passion and purpose. In fact, aligning with passion and purpose, maybe you can tell for you what the meaningful life goals mean, or what is a question or two you might ask a coaching client about meaningful life goals.
Yeah. So look, we can choose goals, and it's the quality of the goal that we choose that determines which target we're going for. So I just have a little checklist that I ask myself. I say, is it good for me, and at a holistic level? Is it good for others? And is it good for the greater good? So that just, for me, just narrows it down. It's got to be good for me. If it's not good for me, I don't even take the next step. It's got to be good for others. I'm serving others, and it's got to be good for the greater good. And a lot of times that, for me, is, say, the planet, and leaving the place in a better state than when I came. Yeah.
I was talking to Jessica earlier today about how long I wanted to live, and because I had a dream. I had my first Joe Dispenza dream last night, and it was showing this. Oh man, this bay. Maybe it was a bay out by you. That water was going in both directions, and waves were crashing into each other. And also, all of a sudden, there was like a spinning hexagon, like if you pictured a superstorm with a hexagon at the center. And they said it had been going on for 4 days. And the analogy in the dream was, it's day 4 for you, Michael, out of 7. You're over halfway through the game. And I'm like, oh, heck no. I'm like, Jessica, I'm going to be here till well over 100. And she goes, well, then you better work with your show on saving this planet if you plan on being around that long.
Absolutely.
So
it's fascinating as we come to. So I turned 50 this year, and it's
so you're 1 year ahead of me. Awesome.
Yeah, I see that. 1970. Nice work. Yeah, so it's an interesting transition point, and I've made the point, talking meaningful goals. I decided my goal for this year, 2019, was to celebrate more. One thing I haven't done well in the past is, achieve these things and then finish that. I'm off to the next thing, and I'm like, that's not what life is about. Land, celebrate, then take a few breaths and enjoy this moment before you charge on to the next thing.
It is so important to anchor. We got a 2-book deal from Random House, 10 publishers vying in this bidding war many years ago before we moved to Maui. It was awesome. And afterwards, you think we're going to celebrate? No, it's time to get to work. That was what I was thinking. Insane, because if you don't celebrate, and I get to do better at this myself, Carl, if you don't celebrate, the universe doesn't bring you anything to celebrate. You're like disrespecting the gift.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Let's talk financial abundance, but you use an even better word. And it's
Mm,
similar to the word I'm always going to. I go to circulation because it is
yeah.
currency. Tell us about
Yeah.
financial flow.
So financial flow. I remember working with a client that, he was probably worth $250 million. Had scarcity issues around money. Like I couldn't see how this guy could spend all the money, but he'd stopped working. Like he'd made a bucket load of money during the 90s. And, that's where he made his money. So he stopped working then, retired in, early 30s. And I was talking to him mid 40s. So, one, he didn't have meaningful goals. The other one, he didn't have financial flow. So even though he had this huge pile of money he was sitting in, he didn't feel this thing coming back. So for me, it's not about people thinking once I get to a level, then I'm going to have this financial security. Life is going to be sweet. What I think is more important is to feel as though we can generate money when we need it. So we look at the bank account and we go, it's low, but we have this sense of, ever see this sense within ourselves, okay, I know how to generate more money. And that's a sense of calm that, surpasses financial security by a big measure, in my opinion. Yeah.
So let's go from there. Thank you so much. And I was thinking back in high school when kids would joke, what's the meaning of life? You actually have in the next one, the meaning of life. To fully express our most authentic and unique selves and ways that serve us and others.
Yeah. So, I think it really is about being the best version of ourselves. We've been given this gift of life. And I was just talking to a client the other day and I said, hold your finger up in the air. And I said, turn it around, look at your fingerprint. That's unique in 7 billion people. Now, if that piece is maybe 1/10,000th of the surface area of your body, you are so unique and so incredible. So you are so you. So your thing in life is to be the greatest expression of yourself. But if you do that just for your own sake, that sort of goes down the narcissism path. If you do that in order to serve people in a greater way, that's when you start getting the rebound effect as well when you start serving others. So for me, that's evolution. Yeah.
Beautiful. So now let's talk about evolution of success. I like working backwards. Come up with something in the distance, work backwards from there. When we're
Yep.
visioning success, what's the importance of taking the time and energy to form the clearest vision we can?
I'm just having, a breather as I say that. And even the thought came to mind, if you took 1 month of a 12-month year and you spent the first month just getting clear about what it is you want to do for the rest of the year, you're going to be way out in front than if you charge into that year, trying to fumble your way through it or, just, oh yeah, I think it's this, and then like firing off in that direction. So, I'm much more these days about pausing and like getting clear. And when I work with a client, if they tell me their goal,
Yeah.
and then I get them to say, why is this important to you? If
you.
I don't get the chills, I take them back to step one and we keep doing the circle loop until they tell me, what's coming from their heart. And when they come from their heart, I get the chills and I'm like, we're on track. Now we're talking the universal language.
If they can't come up with their why or their one thing, as Jay Papasan and Ray Keller have written about, where do you go with them?
I tell them this to take a step forward. It might be like, have a guess. Like, don't stay in this point of inertia, because
Yes.
if you stay in a point of inertia, you only get to see what's around you. So just move in a direction and just be open to the feedback you get. Might go adjust along the way, or you might just get there and say, this is definitely what I don't want. And that's an awesome place to be, because you just ruled out a big chunk of stuff.
I love it, because it's what I tell with clients as well. In fact, I was on a YouTube Live talking with people about this 2 nights ago. If you step forward, even in the quote wrong direction, there is no such thing as a wrong direction. Energy, currency, like you're talking about, starts to flow and things shake themselves out and become clear.
Absolutely. And even keeping it super practical, if I start moving in a different direction, I get to see different things. I'm getting different stimuli and feedback, and that's starting to link different things in my brain. I never thought about that because I never saw that picture. I was too busy staying still and seeing the same old picture, the same old familiar, and I was coming up with the same old ideas.
You
movement.
you bring up a great quote that I've got exclamation, 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 and then I wrote, so important. The new images change the inner workings of your brain.
Beautiful and spot on. Absolutely.
So how do we optimize our brain to become more successful in all areas?
Look, I've always loved this idea of increasing our level of consciousness. So, introduced to the idea, maybe it was Bruce Lipton or Joe Dispenza saying that, we're only conscious about 5% of the time. So, conscious of what we're feeling, thinking, believing, and behaving. So if I want to raise the results I'm getting, I need to raise my level of consciousness, and I also need to work on what's happening at a subconscious level to bring those into alignment. So for me, it's how can I raise my level of consciousness? Because the more conscious I am in a given situation, the better decision I will make. The more present I am, the more conscious I am, the more I can hold that, and I can see this as a new situation. I can draw on my past, but instead of just regurgitating the same template, I use wisdom to go, okay, I'm going to take a bit of this, I'm going to take a bit of this, but I can't do that if I'm not fully present and conscious in that moment. So for me, practices, you've got to move and meditate, absolutely essential. And when we get into that place of, calm, maybe post-meditation, that's where I plan out my day. That's where I plan out, what I'm going to do over my week. I want to get into that place of stillness. That's where my brain is optimized. I don't, try and make decisions when I'm fatigued, important decisions. I have agreement with my partner, my girlfriend, to say, if either of us are fried and we can't make a decision, I have a conversation at the level we want to have it. Yeah. We can put our hand up in the air and say, pause on that one. If this is important, let me go and have a drink of water. Let me get some movement. Let me go and look at the rice fields here in Bali. Taking a few breaths, now we can reconvene that conversation. But I don't like making important decisions when I'm not in the right state.
I think that's brilliant, and it leads to my next question, because you talk about the reticular activating system, and the fact is that we see almost nothing. We see one bit out of every million bits of information, and so when we're stressed, when we're tired, we have just focused in on, not in a good way, not like meditation focusing in on the head of the pin, but we're focusing in on, we're not able to be expansive enough to have a clue about anything, are we?
Absolutely. So my sort of thing is, when we go into a stress response, we're trying to solve a problem looking through a pipe.
Bingo.
We've got zero perspective. We get into that elevated emotional state, we've got perspective. And if you go even higher in that perspective, helicopter view, you see the whole picture and you see how things can be joined together. I say that, when we're in those reactive states of mind, we've got the brain powers of a dog, mammalian brain, where the pooch, as much as I love my pooch, the pooch isn't solving problems the way I can solve problems, when I get things up to a higher level in my brain, for sure.
So going to that higher level, what's the word passion mean to you?
It's a feeling. It's just connecting to our core and going deeper. So getting out of this surface level, tapping in deeper. And it's got to be, this heart level. And, if we sort of go heart, then we're getting close to this thing, we might call it soul. We're getting closer to this wisdom. We're getting closer to our dharmic path. This, this thing that really defines what is my purpose here. And we can't get into that if we don't sort of use this emotional, a way of getting there. And that passion is that way to drop into that space.
I like that you call it heart level. I like that you call it dharmic path, because I've had some guests on recently who said passion can always, like a passion for a person, it can burn one day and be gone another. And I think that's confusing something, passion with excitement. A true passion is something you dive in deep. And in fact, the more difficult it gets, not somebody playing hard to get, but the more difficult it is, the more that flame starts to burn bright rather than you fatiguing out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm all about the resistance along the way. So, I've worked with clients before that think if it doesn't feel easy, I'm on the wrong path. And I'm like, oh no, it might be a completely opposite. Don't let that be your gauge of whether you're doing the right thing. If it's tough, it feels like someone's punching you in the face. If it's that sort of like, if you're nervous about, coming into it, that might be feedback that this is really important for you. Don't misread that feedback.
Thank you. And it's something ever since we're kids, at least here in the West, we've confused fear and excitement. We've linked so many emotions in a way that we have things absolutely backwards.
Yeah.
So speaking of linking, and there's a subtle yet powerful distinction you make in chapter 7. To me, I'm all about, I tell people when I coach them, you are going to work hard, but I say, I'm not going to try to make you work harder. I'm not going to try to make you work smarter. I'm going to work to get you into flow. Tell us about power versus force. Maybe you can even start with Sir David R. Hawkins.
Yeah. Well, I actually like a story that I tell better, and it's like this. I love watching my talent shows. I love watching when someone sort of taps into power, and I love, the emotions we feel when we watch that. So Susan Boyle, one of the earliest ones on Britain's Got Talent. She says on the show as she comes on, I want to be more famous than Alan Page, who's a famous singer-actor in Britain. Now, I tell the story. Now, she went to the best PR company in Britain, in London, and said, I want to be more successful than her. They would say, one, they might just throw her out the door. If they decided to take a contract, maybe they come up with 50 steps and, it's a 10-year process and all of this to get to there. That's for me more linear. That's force. That's Newtonian physics. Power, she just steps in, just tears her chest wide open and just goes super vulnerable and taps into power, source power, life power, her personal power. And when she does that, she rocks the world. She connects to us at a heart level. That's power. Force is, a physical thing. Power is a heart, gives you chills. That's the difference.
Thank you. And for people who don't know, she went on to Britain's Got Talent 2009, and she sang I Dreamed a Dream. And I think they were heckling her even beforehand. The judges are kind of rolling their eyes at her, and she just, no words.
Yeah. And she didn't impact the people in the room. She impacted 100+ million people that watched the YouTube of her doing that. Like, that's power.
How do we tap into that power?
Sometimes we might realize where we're pushing too much, where we're like, there's too much resistance, we're forcing it. For me, one of the greatest ways to tap into power is tap into creativity. And we can't tap into that creativity when we're, hyperactive. We need to slow down, breathe into it, and then we can tap into this creative, because creative, I might quantum leap 10 steps.
It's interesting you say creativity, because you talk about the hypothetical if she went to a PR agency and they gave her a step-by-step approach. We've all actually been crushed by this. It's the I have a brilliant idea. You call your father, your mother, your spouse, or somebody, and they take you right out of the creative process, throw you into the linear thinking mind, and all of a sudden it feels completely wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. One of, talking things that I had to unlearn from my military days was, the military needs to get their plans as close to perfect as possible, otherwise there's radical consequences. I needed to take that, and I got into neuro-linguistics programming, hypnotherapy, Reiki, lots of different things. So I needed to take the idea of having an awesome plan, but these days I'm like, awesome plan, 80%, 20% is the magic ship that I have no clue where it's coming from. And this is my, my belief about sending a signal out to the universe and tapping into synchronicity is we need to get started. Like it's not enough to just, see it, feel it. That's a great step. But then we need to put it into action. And that's when we prove and show the people around us what we're seriously doing. And we show the universe above this is what we're about. Then the universe knows we're serious about what we're doing. Then it starts plugging and supporting us.
Awesome.
So we need to get moving.
I feel called to ask it again, even though I'm hearing, but he already gave the answer. What does that mean to get moving? You're like, I feel called to X, Y, Z. And I'm going to use that word, I feel called. How do we step forward?
I love Brené Brown's work and, the idea of stepping into courage. I talk to people and I say, you don't have to have the belief that you can do something. You just need to take a couple of steps. So often people wait around to feel, I don't believe that I can do it. I say, just take that off the table. What's the next step? I guess I could, put this post up here. Fantastic. Take that step. Then what's the next step? And doing that. And that's this idea of breaking inertia and creating momentum. Whatever we need to do to break the inertia.
Let's talk about a very interesting subset, powerful subset of inertia. Our identity, which can keep us stuck. How do we step past it? Tony Robbins, people have a strong need to stay consistent with their identity.
Look, I work on people, helping them get clear of these stories that they tell themselves. And I want to interrupt those stories. And I spend most of my time, banging up someone's story. And I worked with a client the other day that, was going through challenges for years. And I got her to realize that it's not who she is, it's something she does. Yeah. And when I got her to identify with the idea that it's a habit that she's built up over the last 10 or 15 years and not who she is, it was a light bulb moment for her. She realized, okay, if I do something, if it's not who I am, then I can do something about it. I can undo that thing. And, when we realize we're pure light and love, that's our call.
Woohoo!
Yeah, that's our call.
Let's talk about thinking for just a second. And this is another pattern that we get to break. I love your new word. We should add it to at least the Webster's dictionary. I'm not sure what the Australian dictionary is going these days, but thoughting.
Yeah. So,
and maybe we can add it to Oxford English as well.
Yeah, we get caught up in this idea of thinking our thoughts are actually true. I've heard different definitions on what, initiates thoughts. The idea we have a feeling, the body's trying to determine what that feeling is. So the brain comes up with lots of stories about what it could mean and what's going on. So if we confuse that for reality, as opposed to the idea of thinking is when we sort of pause and we tap into wisdom. We bring ourselves into this present moment, and this is where we get into that creative essence as well. So our thoughts, that's our job. It's constantly challenging our thoughts. Did I just say that? Even in a conversation, you're just like, pause. Hey, did I just say that, that thing? I just went unconscious then, and I just regurgitated a saying that's common for people, but is it true? And, is it necessary? And is it useful in this present moment? I'm completely challenging my thoughts and the thoughts of my clients.
I love it. And that's really about, in a sense, elevation and evolution. Are we thinking what serves us best? In fact, you say something really profound here. Our target goal is to increase the frequency and potency of the consciousness we bring to the most important decisions in life, as well as the daily stuff.
I'm all about, if we make great choices, it shapes the course of our destiny. So I've always been fascinated to understand, what can I do to increase the quality of the decisions I make? And it really is this idea about slowing down, going inwards. And I used to teach, and maybe I picked this up from a Joe Dispenza, knowledge plus experience equals wisdom. And that was what I used to teach. And I'm like, no, but I've had the knowledge, I've had the experience, and I've still made a stupid choice, even though I've made that stupid choice numerous times. What's the missing ingredient? And for me, the missing ingredient is consciousness. So if I add wisdom to consciousness, then I get a completely different set of results.
What does that mean when we're in our thoughting or we're in our thinking and we want to tap into that. What does that look like?
It looks like, yogis have been doing it for thousands of years. It's like, taking some breaths, changing from sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system, letting a little bit more blood flow and access and energy, frontal lobes. That's what it looks like. We're all geniuses. We've all got this, beautiful creative essence. We're going too fast, and when you're on a hamster wheel, you can't actually do your best thinking. So, slow down to speed up, get clear of your goal, and then take these, micro steps, these little steps which you think doesn't make sense, but boy, they make a difference. They compound like you wouldn't believe.
You're my doppelganger on the other side of the world. Did you know that? You just said slow down to speed up. I have from our second book, Barefoot Running, it says right on the back cover, if I get this wrong, the go slow to go fast philosophy of Michael Sandler.
Love it. I love it. Absolutely. Brother from another mother.
See this right here? My totem, the sea turtle, right here.
I love it. I love it. I'm going to get myself one of those.
So it is, if you fight the water, you always go slower. I love it. It's a stone that says breathe. and mine says nothing on it. It is just a beautiful granite stone from the backyard that is incredibly grounding. And so you just hold this stone. I could bring myself up with a crystal, but then I'd be like that kangaroo squirrel. Oh, crap. But instead, I go.
Fantastic.
And I breathe. Fantastic. In fact, tell us, this is good, this balance of things here. Tell us about daily positive emotions and energetic harmony.
It's, one of the things I think with daily joy, and it's something I've, had to work on. And I think a lot of times stress can throw us out of daily joy. So it's bringing more attention to how we're showing up moment by moment, day by day, and also getting clear about the things that bring us joy. So before we had this call, and this is a little bit earlier for me in Bali.
And I'm so thankful for people who aren't aware. This is a 7 o'clock call. You've been up early to get ready for this, so thank you.
So getting my morning routine in before this call, I'm all about meditation and movement. Yep. So my movement was, I just danced around the office for 15 minutes. So, getting more playful with life and choosing the things that bring us joy, choosing to hang out with the dog and, sit there, pat the dog for 10 minutes to stimulate that joy. So again, not waiting for joy to come to us. I'm all about, conscious living, conscious choices. What choices can I make going to lead to more joy? So I might decide I need to speak to a good buddy of mine, once a week. I need to reach out to someone that I haven't spoken to for a while that just reconnects me. And I love you did the interview with Johan the other week on Lost Connections, this idea of, connecting with others. Realizing that if we've got challenges going on, we get caught in our bubble thinking everyone else has got it figured out. Look on the Instagram and the Facebooks and, this person's life's, social comparisons and that. When we truly connect with someone, it just brings us this sense of stability, this sense of connection, and this sense of joy.
Isn't that or it seems like such a decadent luxury these days, where we're in an I nation, I world, go, go, go. Text is now your richest form. There are kids, I don't know about adults, there are kids who will date, get together, hook up, whatever that means, and break up, all via text, all virtually.
I'm too old for that. I'm so grateful for being the age I am and not being brought up in that. And I truly feel, compassion and empathy for people that haven't known another way of being and are really having some challenges, integrating this technology into having deep connections. So, again, I love you having that interview the other day and talking about lost connections. It's a powerful message for people, powerful.
So let's go from there, and we're gonna start to go into some wrap-up questions. We've got some time. We've got some breath here still. But you say you're a bit of a tyrant with your coaching clients when it comes to what's coming out of their mouths.
Look, And, when someone says to me, yeah, but it's hard, I'm like, you're telling the wrong guy the wrong story. I don't care. Um, and, a story that comes to mind is working recently with a client, and she's in New York, a single mum with 2 kids. I know it's tough, and we were talking about time and time management. We're talking about, getting physical and that sort of stuff. And she tells me, I don't have time. And I'm like, just hold that thought. I want to back that up, and I don't want you to buy into that BS. I just said, you're just not being creative enough. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, could you find 10 minutes to turn some music on and dance around the room? And she's like, yeah, I could do that. So what she's done is she's associated exercise with have to go to the gym, 1 hour session, like it's a 2 hour chunk. Of course you can't fit a 2 hour chunk. Let's get creative here, babe. And let's look at, can you do 10 minutes? And maybe you can do a dance session with your kids. And, suddenly you're doing a family activity. You're getting, all of these return on investment for what you're doing, these concurrent activities. So don't tell yourself that story. Don't buy into that story. So much of, what we do or don't do in life is as a result of the stories we unconsciously tell. So my job is to be that rude, obnoxious person that, interrupts people and says, just back up. And I'll even go and write. I have an office where I coach people on a big whiteboard. I'll write the stupid stuff they say up on the whiteboard and say, check that out. Seriously?
What do you do if somebody makes the absolute terrifying mistake of using the C word, can't?
I might furrow my brow. I might just pause, let them squirm for a little while, and they're like, what have I done here? What have I done? Let's back it up here. Let's just slow this conversation down. What are you buying into? What are you associating and linking to that? And it's, this idea of we're just unconscious in what we say. And watch people, one of the biggest things I talk about with language is my clients can't say should. And the other one is they can't exaggerate. Because if someone exaggerates, they not only exaggerate the story, they exaggerate the emotions that go with that story. So if they're telling a negative story and they're exaggerating on it, they're taking their emotions so high. Now, if we take our emotions so high that they start redlining, it takes a whole lot more work to wind that back down. So we want to have tools and strategies that cause us, to manage our emotions so that they don't redline without us being able to control it.
I can't believe I'm going to say this toward the end of the show because we're going to leave on a high note. We got some questions that'll give us to that high note. But Carrie Korenko was my dear friend, group project partner for a computer master's degree many years ago. She had everything going for her. Triathlete, beautiful, blonde. Every guy wanted her. Second master's degree, I think. And then actually she went into the business, into the defense industry as well. She took her life. What happened was she got into a feedback loop, and it taught me such an important message. She got into a feedback loop that she got so excited, for lack of a term, that she saw no way out. And I've watched it with myself. I'm not innocent of this. And with my clients, you hit a certain point of negativity. And it's a point of no return because your nervous system will then go, and instead of trying to protect you, it will attack you to beat the crap out of you, in a sense, to protect you. And there's no way out of that spiral.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, I just finished reading a fantastic book called Your Body Keeps the Score by a American-Dutch, trauma. And, when we go too deep into trauma, we get into that freeze bit and we get into the reptilian part of the brain where it just disconnects us, blanks it out. That's the survival mechanism. And trying to undo that, trying to get out of that place, that's where the work is at. So I'm about what things can we do to manage that, that emotional rate so we don't get up into that red line. When we get to a 8 out of 10, we've automatically got some strategies. I need to do this. I need to make this call to this person. I need to down tools. I need to wander around the rice fields and, just suck in some air, talk to some Balinese who are always laughing and happy and smiling and change my emotional state. So what are my strategies to help me lower that emotional state?
Thank you. Thank you. So from there, I want to take my coaching hat, put it on you here, Carl, halfway around the world, brother from another mother. What homework assignment do you want to give people today?
I think it's just to, take a few breaths, this slow down thing, and become conscious of the language you're using. What are you telling yourself? And sometimes it's easier for people to notice it in other people. It might be harder for them to notice it in themselves. So everyone's homework is to pay attention to what people are saying. And as you pay attention to what people are saying, like, you know, do you think that's going to make someone's life easier or harder? Do you think that's going to make them happier or sadder? Do you think that's going to make them, elevated emotions, or do you think that's going to take them into survival emotions? So, for even if it's just for today, pay attention to what other people are saying. Listen and see how language can change the emotional state. Yeah.
Woohoo! What advice, Jessica always wants me to ask, what advice would you give parents to help their kids with success today?
That's a good question. One of the things I think is, and this is because I think emotions have such an important impact on things, like the idea of parents listening to their children, hearing their emotional state. Like an example might be, child comes in and says to mother, "I hate grandma." And the tendency is, no, you don't hate grandma, she's great. The better approach might be to say, to meet that child where they're at, yeah, there's sometimes people really annoy us, really make us angry, validating the emotions that that child is feeling.
Thank you.
And then saying, look, even though some people annoy us, remember when grandmother bought you that lollipop 2 days ago, and suddenly the child's state is like, yeah, grandma's awesome. So it's like not denying what people are feeling, because I think, our management of emotions is something that we're not taught well, we're not taught in schools and that sort of stuff. And that's the thing, success is a feeling. So, if we don't have this ability to manage our emotions, like, we're going to be challenged. So that would be the thing I'd say, advice for parents.
Thank you. I stole a term a while back from Ram Dass, to snuggle up. And I want people to snuggle up with their emotions and with all of them and make friends with them. And the scary ones, the triggers, everything, lean into that and see what's on the other side of that cliff.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What personally brings you the greatest happiness, or what I call the woohoo factor?
When I remind myself how amazing life is, when I reconnect with Source. So that's the thing that doesn't need anything external. When I remind myself that I can feel loved for being me with no external props, I remind myself that I was loved into life. I'm loved by life. Life wants me to succeed. Bang.
Woohoo! Of course, I've got to ask, being on Bali, is it yoga? Is it surfing? Is it swimming? Is it kiteboarding? Is it running? What is next on that list for you?
Look, I'm a big fan of yoga, and I'm a big fan of, I've always been about return on investment. What can we do that in the shortest space of time has the biggest return on investment? So for me, yoga is a practice which works us physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. So, and it's an art. It's the original science of thriving, thousands of years old. And that's why I've got involved in yoga. 20 years ago, I started yoga, and it is a big part of my toolkit, for sure.
So, and I like that you use the term a practice, because it's the perfect segue. Where can people go to find your beautiful, beautiful book? I can't recommend enough. And to find your beautiful, it's the backdrop here, retreat center, The Practice.
The Practice. Awesome. So if people are looking for my book, obviously it's in Kindle, paperback, on Amazon, my website, www.carlmassy.com. And then if you're ever coming to Bali, like, look up The Practice. And this is, where I'm based out. I'm a co-owner of this beautiful yoga center, and we're about bringing traditional tantric hatha yoga back. So for us, yoga isn't yoga if it doesn't have meditation as a part of the practice.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So we're about like swimming against the stream. It's not, busting moves and looking the best on Instagram. We're about let's prepare ourselves through asana to take the attention inwards, because that's where the magic happens. That's when you truly shine. That's when you thrive. That's when you come alive. That's our purpose. That's our passion. That's our mission.
Woohoo! You go to Yogananda, Autobiography of a Yogi, and he talks about what yoga is to prepare the body and the mind for that inner journey, period.
Yeah, that's our lineage. Our lineage is based on the lineage of Yogananda.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Any last words of wisdom you want to share, Carl, before we do a brief meditation? I think we're running over. I don't care. I'm having fun.
Look, I just want to say, thank you for the work that you're doing. And, so often in our early years, we're just taking information from the top down, and you're giving people the opportunity to hear information from the bottom up, not through government, not through industry, not through news channels or whatever. So I'm extremely grateful for that. And I'm extremely grateful for the person, whoever it was, that mentioned my name on your Facebook page and created this conversation. So I'm just so grateful for life. And when I connect to life and when I get grateful for life, all my troubles disappear. So, my final word is, stay connected to gratitude. If you're going through a funk, it's because your gratitude button is turned down too low. Turn that button right up, get more grateful, and you'll find that your emotions, your moods, your life will shift.
Woohoo! and a shameless plug to come on over to inspirenationshow.com. Take our survey right away, where one of the key questions is, who would you like to see on the show? Because this literally came out of me on Facebook, a rare event coming out of my hole onto Facebook. I get to do better. We get to get social media management on here and asking the question. And one of our viewers said, you've got to have Carl Massy. I think it was actually several, but I know there was at least one. That's how I reached out. That's how this happened. So if there's someone you want on the show, come on over, take the survey, let us know who that is. All right, would you mind leading us in a guided meditation, whatever you're called to do?
Love to. Okay. So let's just let our eyes drift closed, connecting to our breath and bringing ourselves into this eternal present moment, connecting to the sacredness of breath. Every breath is not only bringing you life, but it's connecting you to this bigger thing that's bigger than all of us. And as you connect to that breath, you're connecting to everyone else that's connected to that breath as well. So in this moment, every single person that's listening to this is connected in a beautiful way. Now, as you take your attention down to your navel center, so down around your stomach. Taking your attention in, I want you to connect to this mantra. I'm pure courage. And I want you to repeat that internally. I'm pure courage. And connect to this, this part of you that has this beautiful energy, this powerful energy that's always within you. That's ready there for you to step into at any time, in any moment. I'm pure courage. I'm pure courage. And now as you take that next breath in, taking your attention up to your heart center. And as you breathe in, imagine you're breathing this breath into this heart center and feeling the light and love that comes in with that breath. And then connecting to the mantra. I am pure love. I am pure love. And connecting to that loving essence which is within you. Your pure light. Your pure love. And breathing that pure love into your being and letting it flood through your entire system. And now taking your attention up to the mid part of your brain. And connecting to the mantra, I'm pure consciousness. And as you connect to that mantra, I'm pure consciousness, feel a sense of clarity infusing you. And knowing that when you connect to this part of you that is pure consciousness, you see so much more clearly. You see the path ahead. You see all that you've achieved that has got you to here. And you see what a beautiful, amazing, incredible individual you are. Your pure consciousness. And with clarity, you see the magnificence within. And as you take the next breath, I want you to connect to the mantra, I am self-healing. And feel that through your entire body. Waking up the dormant intelligence that exists within every cell in your body. I am self-healing. And know that you are. Know that your body wants to come into homeostasis, wants to shine brightly. I am self-healing. And every breath you take is an opportunity for that healing to take place. And taking a few more deep, sacred, joyful, playful, invigorating, and loving breaths into your beautiful heart, into your beautiful body, into your beautiful mind. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Woohoo!
I'm so grateful for this opportunity. I'm so grateful to get to share my story, and I hope that things have resonated. Picked something that's serves each person that's listening to this. So thank you for being here, and thank you for listening as well.
And Carl, thank you so much. It was a challenge a little bit. We were going to find a way to find the right time to make this work, literally all the way on the other side of the world. So incredibly worth it. So grateful you joined me here today. So grateful I read your book. I love the work you're doing. I love the messages you're sharing with the world. We need to hear it more and more. And we need to not just hear it, as you would say, we need to take action on it.
Yeah. Practice, practice, practice.
Thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Got to crank it up for the finish here. For everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get the guidebook to authentic success, and begin discovering your inner success today, and shine bright. Woohoo! All my love, all my love, all my love, all my love.
So much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Carl.
I'll see you again. We'll high five at some stage when you make your way to Southeast Asia. Job's on.
I'm coming your way. I'm coming your way. I'm coming your way.
Look forward to it, huh? I look forward to letting your light shine over here. Huh?
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like below. Also, leave your comments. Have some real fun with it. Subscribe to our channel where you're going to get more great videos, more interviews coming up. And check out our website, inspirenationshow.com. That's where you'll find tips, blogs, information, videos you won't find anywhere else, and useful and helpful resources to really help you kickstart your life and to shine bright. Thanks so much again. Thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe. See the website. Thanks so much and have fun. Of course, shine bright. Woohoo!